I'm really not much of a public speaker, so what I thought I would do is just make this like a giant clay date hang. So I thought I'd show you just a few little tips and tricks of how to make a tiny vase. And then Bonnie's going to have a chat with me, ask you some questions, and then hopefully we can also have a chat together at the end. And yeah, just have a massive, 20-minute quick hang in the morning of a clay date. So thank you so much. My name is Plastrier. Thank you so much for Tamara for inviting me here to be part of the Creative Mornings team. And thank you for all the volunteers, our venue sponsors, food sponsors. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for Bonnie for being my emotional support friend up here as well. Very much appreciate that. So the first thing we're going to do is tiny vases. So if everybody should have a little clay container in front of them. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to teach you some little tools and tricks. And I'm going to need to be a real princess here and get Bonnie to hold the mic while I demonstrate. So we're going to do a pinch pot. So you're going to need probably about 3/4 of your clay to make the actual pinch pot. So with this particular clay, you can make new colours, you can blend it, you can marble it. There's a couple of ways that you can work it. So I think you're going to need 3/4 for the body of your vessel and maybe save 1/4 of it for your decoration and your handles. So have a little think about what colours you'd like to mix. I'm going to just make a light orange because that's quick of blending these kind of three things together. You're going to fold it, squish it. And actually I forgot to say the most important thing, which is your clay can, make sure it's only on the paper, not on the tables. 2 reasons. One, we're respecting our lovely venue sponsors here. And the second reason is that it will stick to the table more than it will stick to paper, but still don't press it onto the paper because then it will be a mess. So most of the work is done in your hands, but you can rest it on the paper. So once you've done your little squishing of your pieces, you're going to roll it into a ball. You're going to take your dominant hand, so your right hand, if you're right-handed, left-handed, if you're left-handed, you're going to stick your thumb into the middle of that ball till you're about 1/2 centimetre away from the bottom. And then you're going to get your little pinchies, and you're going to pinch. Thank you so much. You're going to pinch, and compress those walls. You're going to start from the bottom and work your way up. If you want a wider vessel, you put more pressure with your thumb. If you want a taller vessel, you put more pressure with your flat fingers and you have a pull-up motion. So the best thing about this clay is that it's reworkable. So if you fail the first time, I'm going to allow you to work on this while we have our little chat. If you fail the first time, scrunch it back up, start again. So if you want a wide vessel, we're putting pressure with our thumb, making a wide opening. As you can see with some of the vessels up here, if you want like a taller enclosed one, what you're going to do is you're going to divide your clay into 2 equal parts, make 2 pinch pots, and then close them like an egg. And I put a little toothpick in all of them as well so that you can use that to form an opening in the egg. Is everyone on board? Does that make sense? Yes. Yay! Okay, awesome. So with that, I'm going to leave you to play with your colours, your marbling, your pinch pot, and decide kind of which of these vessels you would like to make, as long as everyone's feeling prepared and has all the information. And then we'll have a little chat and we'll get back to decoration and handles at the end.
Michelle, my dear friend, I've known you for several years and your work, but for those who do not know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, so I've got some of my work up in the background here. I would describe myself as a multidisciplinary artist, so with a focus on ceramics. I would say that multidisciplinary aspect kind of came not only from like a love of all mediums, but also just when I first started, like the hustle of being a yes man and kind of figuring out, just saying yes to everything and then figuring out how to actually do it later. I would say that was a really fun but stressful way to start out. I definitely feel like my hair is thinning from going in cold on so many things. But yeah, my knowledge expanded like immensely from that kind of attitude. I've done everything from installation to paintings to like my main body of work, ceramic sculpture. I would even say that like workshops are part of my practice as well, and I'm sure you would probably feel the same way, Bonnie. Like community is pretty important. So I think the through line between those 2D and 3D mediums is like colour, like or pattern, and like an exploration of nostalgia. And also I really like to make work that can be enjoyed from multiple perspectives, whether it's purely aesthetically or whether it's like deeper, like socio-political or environmental themes.
I feel like you just keep expanding as well. I feel like you keep going, oh, okay, like your work just, you know, keeps just going into different mediums like very naturally.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's that multidisciplinary thing, and also just being like hungry to like try everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And clay is the favourite so far.
Clay is the favourite so far. Yeah, I think also because there's just so much to learn. Like the options for learning like slip casting or throwing or even just like techniques with glazing. It's really hard to get bored because it's like a lifelong journey. Like you can't know it. Yeah, you're very aware.
Beautiful. So can you tell us a little bit about your path up till now? Where you come from?
So, I mean, I've done a lot of different things leading up until now. Before I started, was an artist full time. I was working 7 years full time in marketing. So working very digitally, working with, photography, social media, Photoshop, Facebook ads, and I kind of realised that I hated it. I also wasn't very good at Facebook ads. Reading the metrics, finding the target audience, and like refining that cost per purchase. Like it was all very mathsy, and I found it really hard. And like hats off to anyone who does that because it's really hard to do and even harder to do well. So everything was very digital, and I really wanted to start working with my hands again, and have a bit more of a tactile experience. So I started working with air dry clay and just like making. So I've actually got some pictures. This is some more of my work, and then these were the first things that I kind of started making. They were just like little air dry clay ring dishes, and I'd say it was like more about the surface pattern than it was necessarily about the object itself. And they really were just for me and friends, and then a lot of people like took an interest in them and wanted to purchase them, kind of like grew my confidence in my work a little bit. So from there, I wanted to expand what I could make that surface pattern on, and became frustrated with the limitations of air dry clay. And from there, decided to do some ceramics workshops. I went to a couple on the Gold Coast, Firebird Studios, joined up to the Gold Coast Potters Association. And then, because it was really about that surface pattern, of course, I had to come to the Underglaze Queen, Bonnie Hislop herself, and it was worth the commute from the Gold Coast to do many a workshop with you.
You were fully formed as well. Like your aesthetic was fully formed, and it was just about helping you transition from the air dry
Thank you. You're always so kind to me.
To the big girl clay.
To big girl clay, yeah. Well, I feel like I'm very much so. Like I'm always trying to I'm asking so many questions. I'm always like on every Facebook pottery page known to man. And it's always the fails that I'll read the comments on, because that's where you'll learn the most. When someone's got like something exploded and you're killing, you're like, well, how do I make that not happen to me? Again, that whole you can't really get bored with ceramics because there's just so much you can expand on, the little rabbit holes you can go down.
Yeah, and every time you go up a level, then you've got bigger fails to negotiate.
100%, always learning. Yeah, the stress.
So how did your career as a full-time artist actually begin?
Pretty much just being in everyone's face. So showing up to every event, going to every opportunity, applying for every opportunity. and the biggest thing is probably making a dedicated social media account to like share the work that I was doing. Yeah, so through that experience, I met a lot of people in person at events or like on social media as well, like online, whether it was other working artists, which was super important because it made me realise like how much I didn't know, curators, venue owners, and I think just from having that credibility of someone being able to put a face to the name, like a lot of opportunities came up and I was successful with a lot of those applications. And I always kind of made sure that I was really mindful about how I conducted myself within those opportunities as well, making sure that everybody left feeling like it was a good experience. You know, we're a pretty tight community, so word of mouth is important, and also, yeah, I just think like you want to leave that door open for other future collaborations or work as well. That's not to say that I've never made mistakes, I definitely have, but I think it's like how you handle them, which is like circles back to your personal ethos and making sure that you're in line with that that personal ethos. That's kind of, yeah, the opportunities kind of kept coming, and so I knew I was like on the right path and making the right moves.
Brilliant. Yeah. So, where was the moment you realised that you needed to leave your job and work on your art full time?
I kind of have a very similar story for a lot of people, which is wild, is, you know, like during COVID, I did that reassessing of what my priorities were, or, you know, kind of things that were important to me where I was in life, wasn't loving my job, kind of, and I saw this little exit strategy, and it was like, you know, it was definitely, I would call it a leap of desperation rather than a leap of faith, because I didn't have a plan. I had like a small, I had a small network of people and small, you know, pool of opportunities, and it was kind of like it's now or never, get it together. And yeah, so I figured out how much holiday pay I had and how long that could last me for, and I gave myself that long to kind of like find the work and get those opportunities. But yeah, so that was really the main factor for deciding that, you know, I was going to move on to it full time, was the desperation to get out of my job. But also, it was, even though it was a wild, scary time of instability, and I did feel really weird about kind of leaving my job in a time where everybody was losing their jobs, it actually ended up being the perfect time because everybody was, like, our favourite word of the pandemic, pivoting, which created a lot of gaps and opportunities that wouldn't have been there before. So I do kind of, you know, and I've talked to you many times about this, you know, I do kind of put that down to like luck and timing, but also what I've talked to you about, what you probably more instilled in me is that it was through my personal ethos and the way that I conduct myself that it was me that got to fill those gaps.
Definitely. Yeah. And I loved watching you do that. I saw you from the beginning when I met you. I think you were in that real transition phase of going, I don't know what to do, but I know it's not this.
Yeah, you were my facilitator and therapist, like workshop facilitator and therapist.
We would get out of that studio 2 hours after the workshops ended because we'd just be going, oh, clay and this and that, and what are we going to do? And I'm like, oh, I just like need to be around you all the time.
You're very generous with your time. I would have been like, get out.
Oh no, I was like, do you need to like go sleep? Because I could just keep talking. You need to go drive to the Gold Coast. Have you had dinner? No? Okay. Let's go to Macca's.
Oh yeah, I have a few like little slides just about the opportunities and things that I have been part of. So some like an art battle at Hotter, live painting. This was part of a bus stopper exhibition on the Gold Coast. This is a public exhibition in Miami. Moss Skateboard Charity exhibition at Mint Art House. A merch collab. Working with Bonnie, so becoming a teacher at Dabbler Studio. I also was lucky enough to be an artist assistant for Sam Leitendor and work on the work behind him, Cloud Drive, which was part of the Solid Gold opening for the new gallery at Hotter. Made a workshop for the kids' school programs at Pacific Fair. They then asked me to install a mural via like a community workshop at Pacific Fair. And yeah, probably most recent highlight was my little Riot Girl zebra here, which I brought today, was a finalist in the North Queensland Ceramic Awards, along with my friends Bonnie and Sam.
Yes.
All the friends. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys. Wow. So, Michelle, what does ethos mean to you?
Through this particular research of this topic, getting ready for this talk, I have found that it's wildly difficult to not only convey but to grasp. It is like this weird, like intangible thing that also changes depending on like who or what you're talking about. So I kind of thought the best way to kind of reel it in was just talking about the ways in which I would say ethos has affected my life and career, which obviously the one that I've already kind of mentioned is that personal ethos, that like creed or code of who you want to be and how you want to live your life, what are my values, morals, ethics, but it's multifaceted. It's not just that, it's also how those things are perceived outwardly by other people.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's wildly difficult to control other people's thoughts and emotions. So I think the best thing that you can do to kind of get in ahead of that narrative, it's kind of the only thing that you can do, is just making sure that your words align with your actions, that you are behaving in a way that is authentic to who you think your ideal character should be, but also who you're telling other people that you are as well. I think, like, briefly, things that are important to me and the way that I conduct myself, like what my ethos would be, community over competition, gratitude, try to give as much as you take, and be curious. Like, you have to in ceramics. Like, there's a forever learning curve.
Definitely.
So
Yes.
yeah, be curious. And I think those kind of things, and the way that you conduct yourself, and if you're living in line with that, then you kind of magnetically attract people of that similar kind of experience and ethos and morals, values, ethics. And then that's the second way I would say that ethos has played a part in my life, is that ethos of the creative community. So that not only being part of that creative community, but also being able to contribute to what that external ethos looks like for the creative community. And I would say that not only friendship that's come from this alignment of ethos, I would also say the mentorship that's come from that as well is probably equally as important, if not more important, than the opportunities that have arisen. I would say I would credit a lot of my opportunities and success to that mentorship, for sure.
Cool. How do you think that ethos has affected your career pathway?
Yes, well, funny that we're having this conversation with you, because I don't think I even linked those things together until I actually had a conversation with you when I just started working at Dabbler, and I think we were just getting ready for a workshop, and I don't know whether I was nervous or something, but you kind of were talking about not only, you didn't hire me just because I had these skills and this like knowledge and this want to learn, but also because you said you felt that I was like kind and warm and joyful to be around, and that was something that was it was like it was important, and also something that you like wanted the students at your studio to feel, and I feel like you're very much so that, and it was important that like if someone else was going to be there when you weren't, that they were representing you in a certain way. And I think that was like, I mean, it seems really obvious now, but it kind of, I was very taken aback by that, because those qualities aren't necessarily of super high importance in like a corporate environment that I just come from, and could maybe even be perceived as weaknesses. So these things that were weaknesses had now become my strengths, and that was, again, that just makes you realise that you're in the right place, that you're with all these people whose ethos align, and you're contributing to this larger ethos. And I think I've had other conversations with other people since, Sam Leitendor kind of said the same thing, who I knew socially before I started working for him, and then also when I was working at Hodder as an artist educator, the people who hired me there had very similar conversations about that's what they wanted me to bring to the role. So I think it's, I think, again, that's the, it's kind of that alignment of ethos has led me to many friendships and mentorships, and I also feel like now what's fun is that I feel like I've got enough tools in my own tool belt to be able to pay it forward and have up the next crop. So
beautiful. That's lovely. So, what was the most significant opportunity you've received that you feel like was in large part due to your personal ethos?
I did bring a slide for this one, I think. So probably the biggest one was Art Keeper through HODA. So that was a program that went from November last year to early March this year. It was a 5-month employment opportunity where you got to work paid part-time for 5 months on the project that you pitched as part of your application. And I think that I definitely feel that I can accredit my personal ethos largely to the reason that I was successful in that particular application, because it was the launch of this program, so it was important to make sure that they knew the people that they were bringing on board so that they could guarantee the success of this program to be able to have the continuation of it. So there was 140 applicants, there was 11 people interviewed. There was supposed to originally be 3 people taken on, but they ended up not being able to narrow it down, and they brought on 4 of us, which is Danielle Constance, Jay Jermaine, Danny Cabs and myself there. And it's, I was very glad, because you always feel like you were that one that was on the chopping block. So very grateful for the 4. I think, the things that it kind of like offered me, which was like institutional validation, like having an institution say that like you are an artist is like, even if it's just personally, like it just makes me feel valid. That's not what you should do to that's how I felt. Mentorship by Wesley Enoch. If nobody knows who Wesley Enoch is, I would strongly recommend looking him up. He is incredible, and also had just come from being director of the Sydney Festival. What else? So we got Time to Go Deeper, so having 5 months paid to just work on one singular project. I know, it's the dream, it's the dream, yeah. And I would say I went down so many rabbit holes that I would never have gone down, because you just really like looking at the time, the cost per time on your work, and I think that it expanded and went in ways that it would never have if I hadn't had that opportunity. I would actually get people attending these workshops was pretty crucial for my projects. That was like another massive reason why I would say that's probably the largest, like the biggest, most significant opportunity that I've gotten through personal ethos.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. I had the pleasure of attending one of these workshops.
Yes, you
I
did.
made a new species. I made a moth. Would you be able to talk about this project and what it was about more?
Of course.
Elaborate that on that a little bit, please.
So my pitch, which definitely like evolved from there. I think I put a few more. This is the studio. I got to like paint the walls here. It's me working on another thing with the rabbit hole. This was at Dabbler Studio, one of the pieces that I made, and I haven't shown anyone that. Not that I don't even understand that, but it will all make sense soon. So the workshops were about evolution and adaptation in relation to climate change. So I was taking a macro look at what the local wildlife was and what the threats were to them specifically related to climate change, and then broke them all down on a piece of paper next to a picture of the animal, and then we went into these workshops and kind of like hypothesized ways in which these creatures could evolve or hybridize to have features that would help them survive the imminent extremes. And it was interesting because I had kind of like 2 workshops planned, one with adults and one with kids, and I was kind of like, just did the kids because I was like, well, you've got to have one for the kids, but they probably won't have much to contribute to this scientific discussion, and I will eat my words with that because I was kind of freaking out because I was like, oh, these kids aren't going to know like they're very young. I was like, they're not going to know what climate change is, and I'm going to have to be the one to explain to them that the world is ending, and what have I done? And
they know.
they know. And I kind of was like, planned, I'm going to go in with this idea of using a garden as like a microcosm for the world at large, and kind of talking about what does this garden need to survive, what lives in the garden, what would happen if the garden didn't get everything it needed to survive, and like what would happen to the animals inside there if the garden didn't get everything it needed. And they didn't need that. They really didn't need that. And some of the things that they came up with, and then like I know everyone talks about like children's outside of the box thinking, but the outside of the box thinking and their understanding of the actual topic meant that we got some like really incredible results, and none of them of which I have pictures here to bring today because I decided the adult workshop was the one that I needed the documentation for, so never underestimate children. This is just some pictures of the workshop here, so we had, this is a space, it's funny! We worked on those collages, had a bunch of materials to kind of get across the features that we wanted to talk about the evolution of. It was really, really fun and colourful, as you can tell. Like, some people went really wild with their adaptations. This one's gorgeous. This is an artist, so that it makes sense. But this girl here on your left, my right, this girl here, she absolutely made me feel so stupid. Me too. Yes, she was so smart. So she was very much not that interested in the craft side of things. She was very interested in the side,
saving
the
the world.
Yes, saving the world, the science side of things. And there is this video, it's not kind of edited, so I didn't bring it, but there's this video where I'm going around asking everyone kind of to input on on their creature, and they have to have this rationale as to why they've created it. And my eyes just like slowly widening as she's going through her rationale, because she's just was so smart. And there was actually scientists that came to that workshop, and there was just some really incredible.
Brought their children.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was a really great workshop, and I think that's only would have happened with that reach of that particular with Potter. And so that project is still ongoing, and I hope to have more to update about that soon.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where it goes. Okay, last question.
Yes.
What advice would you give someone just starting their career as an artist or creative?
So I have 5 pieces of advice because you cannot shut me up. I would say you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I think that, inside your head rhetoric of getting in that loop of like, I'm not ready, I'm not smart enough, it stops people from even like starting. What I would suggest is that you need to be the most curious person in the room, that you need to try and get as much as you can from the experience. And also, people enjoy you participating. So asking questions and being involved is going to show that you're taking whatever the experience or opportunity is seriously. I think it leaves a good impression. 2, I would say that you're going to suck. And that's okay. You're not defined by that one piece of shitty work, and that one piece of shitty work is going to get you closer to making a better piece of work.
You've got to sit in the shit.
You've got to sit in the shit. Learning to deal with rejection, and we've talked about this a lot because I think you don't really share your rejection.
No.
But so people will just assume it's not there, but you will face rejection, and you probably will face more rejection than you will successes. But it's learning to not let that define you, and also be gracious and thank people for the opportunity, and ask for feedback whenever you can. Number 4, sorry, I've been going on. Know when to be vulnerable and when to be confident, when to put your big girl pants on, your big boy pants on, your big person pants on. I think being confident in yourself makes other people confident in you. And the last one, which is probably the hardest to come to terms with, is that this creative artist life is ebbs and flows, and that it will flow, and sometimes there'll be an ebb, and that ebb does not mean that it is the downward spiral of your career. Kind of not letting that define you, and being able to back yourself when the work's there is really easy. Being able to back yourself when the work isn't there is very hard, but it's actually crucial to your longevity and success. And I find if you can actually learn to make peace with those ebbs, that times of lack of chaos, they can actually teach you something. And if they don't teach you something, they at least give you a moment to breathe. That's it. That's all my advice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your insight.